Well, this is it, folks. This is what you've all been waiting for. PMAC's top 10 favorite movies of all time. If you enjoy these types of videos and want more of these types of videos besides just haul videos where I actually talk more about movies and movies that I like, movie reviews, hit the thumbs up and leave a comment so that I know you're interested in this sort of thing and it's worth it for me to go ahead and put the time and effort into making them. Top 10, baby. Top 10. So we've already seen in the other videos, in the first 4 portions, we've seen movies 50 through 11. Within that 50 through 11, we have seen some absolute classics. Taking a look back through it, we've seen a movie like Die Hard at number 40. Absolutely fantastic movie. We've seen The Green Mile at number 32. We've seen things like Total Recall, Arnold Schwarzenegger classic, number 28. We've seen Star Wars A New Hope, number 26. We've seen other great movies like Rocky at number 18, just absolute classics. We've seen Back to the Future at number 14, The Terminator, number 13. All those absolutely fantastic movies. However, they did not crack the top 10. In this video, we're going to see what did crack the top 10. And I did, some of these movies, a lot of these movies did start off in the top 10. Some of them, it was a lot of comparing and I'd take this movie over that movie. So I didn't take this lightly. I did a lot of comparisons, and these are the movies that lasted and made it into the top 10 over some great movies that you've already seen, movies that I love from my childhood, like a Ghostbusters movie. Batman Returns, another great childhood movie. Let's get into it. Let's get into the top 10. Number 10, this is one that probably by process of elimination, this is one that you probably, if you think about it, you'd be able to figure out is a top 10, because it's a great movie. It's probably going to be in a lot of people's top 25. It is a mainstream movie. This comes from a line of movies in the late 90s that were sci-fi with like Gnostic aspects to them. They used to actually make some deep blockbuster movies, and this was one. It has depth to it, but it's also has, even if you didn't focus on any of the depth, it has fast-paced action, sci-fi entertainment, and it is The Matrix from 1999. Everybody knows about The Matrix. Absolutely phenomenal movie. Extremely rewatchable. I mean, I've watched this quite a few times. I've rewatched the other Matrix movies too, but this is like easily the one that is the best. Sometimes, I'd watch this and not rewatch the rest of the series, because this one's just so much better than in a lot of regards than the other ones. I think it's easier to kind of understand, comprehend what's going on. The other ones get kind of a little complicated, a little bit more tricky to totally keep it all together. But this one is just an absolutely fantastic movie. Like I said, a mainstream movie with some brains to it, with some complexity, with some depth. So The Matrix, absolutely phenomenal movie. And I do have the Trilogy box set. But this is one where, I talk about other movies where like one movie kind of represents the whole series. This one, not so much. I think the first one, while I still like the other ones to a certain degree, the first one is easily the best. My second favorite is the newer one, actually. I thought that was the best Matrix movie besides the first one. Getting to number 9. Number 9. Now, this is another one that is representing a series. This is one that didn't start off in the top 10 when I first made my list, but I compared to other movies. I like it more than this movie. I like it more than this movie. I like it more than this movie, and it really worked its way up. This is not a lot of people's favorite. This is probably most people's least favorite out of this series. Let's get into what it is. It is 2012's The Dark Knight Rises. You got Bane on the cover there. For some reason, you know, most people will say that The Dark Knight, the middle one, is their favorite with Heath Ledger as the Joker. That's actually my least favorite out of this Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy. Batman was kind of a side character in that. Joker was really, you know, the main character of the movie, I would say. And to me, it just didn't, I don't know, it didn't click with me as far as the emotional depth of it. Obviously very dark. In all these Batman movies, in a way, the villain, you know, Batman kind of represents the system, almost like let's just say the system. And then the villain character represents like an anarchist sort of thing. A lot of it's representing that, but like in a very negative light, whereas just because something's against the system doesn't make it negative. So I mean, as far as that, these movies do give like to your subconscious, they're kind of playing on that anybody anti-system is bad and evil, but that's not really true. But just as far as pure entertainment value, besides some of the deeper components of it, this is an absolutely fantastic movie. Like the emotions that this took us down. I mean, in this one, it focused more on Bruce Wayne and Batman and just emotional ups and downs with the movie. Like it really kind of like toyed with your emotions, where it would get you up and down and up and down. And I really thought that Batman had died at the end of this movie, and then, you know, the final little sequence there. So it toys with you, and it was just not a bad toying, like like an excitement roller coaster ride that you were on. I thought Bane was a great villain. I thought Christian Bale is really good as usual. You know, you got Michael Caine, Gary Oldman, Anne Hathaway. I thought, you know, the Catwoman in this very, very good. Tom Hardy, of course, excellent. And then the angle with Joseph Gordon-Levitt was a really cool touch to this also. So the Dark Knight Rises of the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy, my number 9 pick. I love this movie. Extraordinarily rewatchable. I watched this right when I got it. I watched it probably 2 or 3 times, and then I've watched it several times since, and it just never gets old. It just a really great, very, very rewatchable movie for me personally. Moving on. This is number 8. It is more sci-fi. It is more late 90s sci-fi. Another one that maybe, you know, people, I think probably most people who watch it think it's a solid movie, but they probably wouldn't include it in their, you know, like top 10 best ever movies. I do. I really love this movie, the emotional impact of this movie. It is Gattaca here. This is just a great movie. The sci-fi component of it is obviously a very interesting portion of it, where, you know, Ethan Hawke's main character wants to go to space, but he wasn't like a genetic match to be able to do it. They basically didn't. He was basically like a normal birth, I believe. So they basically said that he had like defects that did not allow him to be able to go, and it was about, you know, being able to do that. That's what he wanted to do. That was basically his main goal in life, was to go to space. And I really enjoyed how this movie was put together as far as the music and the dramatic and the emotional aspects of this movie. It really hit for me. Written and directed by Andrew Niccol, starring Ethan Hawke, who's fantastic in this, Uma Thurman, Alan Arkin, Jude Law. So we got a pretty all-star cast. It is 106 minutes. And again, another late 90s sci-fi classic. Gattaca here. Absolutely fantastic movie. And again, extremely rewatchable. I've seen this movie several times. Loved it every time I watched it. On to number 7. Now we're getting back to, hey, this is a popular choice probably for top 10, which not all these are necessarily popular choices that a lot of people would have in their top 10. But this is, I mean, I got to be realistic about it too. This is a top 10 movie for me. This is, you know, I looked at these other movies and this is where it ranked. So I have to be honest to the list. I can't say, oh, well, everybody's got this in their top 10, so I can't have it in there. If it's in my top 10, it's in my top 10. And it is number 7 from 1994. It is Shawshank Redemption here. We got the 4K Blu-ray here. This is 142 minutes. So this is another prison movie. I love prison movies. Just great characters in this movie. You got great villains with the warden. You know, just, you know, Morgan Freeman's character, Tim Robbins' character, great performances, just great characters. It gets you so into the story. You really care about what happens to these characters. And then there's kind of supernatural elements to the movie too. So this is just an absolutely fantastic movie. And again, a movie on this list that is extraordinarily rewatchable. I mean, you could watch this every few years and absolutely love it every time. It is so entertaining. It is Shawshank Redemption. What could beat out Shawshank Redemption, you may ask? There must be some pretty great movies left, PMAC. Up next, this is a movie that I did not like when I first saw it. I thought it was extremely boring. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. I didn't quite know what to make of it. I watched it again, still didn't like it. I think probably the third time I watched it is when it clicked for me. The experience of it. I don't know what it is. Some movies you just gotta watch a few times. It is 1982's Blade Runner here. Blade Runner is at number 6 of all time. This is, I would say this is a slow burn type of movie. This is a lot of style over substance in a way. The feel of the movie, the look, the music. It is really like one of a kind. It has just a feel to it that no other movie has. Harrison Ford, excellent in this movie. There's also several cuts of the movie. You don't want the theatrical cut. That's not as good as like the director's cut or the final cut, which I also have I believe it's a 5-disc Blu-ray. I didn't pull that out. But this is just another great, absolutely phenomenal sci-fi movie. This actually does have the Dangerous Days documentary on it also, which I didn't even realize. So I have a couple of those since I have it on the Blu-ray. So, you know, this has got that great, I think that documentary's like 3 hours or something. Rutger Hauer's in this, Sean Young, Edward James Olmos also in this. This movie's great, but then again, this is kind of representing the series in a way. We got Blade Runner 2049, which I would say for me lived up to the expectations. This lived up to the expectations, which is very rare for a movie like this. You know, these are both phenomenal movies, and they're both great in their own way. Probably about tied for me. These are both 5 out of 5 PMAC classics. Yeah, and actually, this is I've watched this probably 3 times, and I need to watch this again actually too, because it's just extremely rewatchable. And things I'm sure that I missed. And what the heck was what's his face's character there talking about? What's his name? Jared Leto. He was. I need to go back and listen to his dialogue again, because I don't know what the hell he was talking about. But absolutely great movie here. And cyberpunk sci-fi, baby. Blade Runner. It was really something. I can't imagine it back then. You know, now there's been more stuff kind of along those lines, but back then that movie would have been like the first of its kind, really, back in the day. On to number 5, and another movie that people will probably say, wow, this beat out all those other classic movies that you've had in your top. Yes, because again, we have a Gnostic movie. We have a movie that makes you question reality. Just an absolutely fantastic movie. This is the top horror movie for PMAC Movies, the top horror movie of all time for PMAC Movies. It is 1990's Jacob's Ladder. Tim Robbins again. I'm not a big Tim Robbins fan. Well, maybe I am. I didn't think I was. But Jacob's Ladder, this is just, Adrian Lin directed this. You don't really, you do have a young Macaulay Culkin. Not a crazy cast in this besides Tim Robbins. 116 minutes. And, again, I don't want to go too much into details, but just an overall, this is another Gnostic movie. This is a movie that really makes you ponder things. It makes you ponder life. It's a very emotional piece. You'll be thinking about this movie after you watch it for quite some time, if you're that type of person to ponder important things in life. This is really going to get you thinking about things and considering some of the symbolism in the movie and all those sorts of things. This is absolutely fantastic. Jacob's Ladder, top horror movie of all time for PMAC Movies, and that makes number 5 on the list. We are in the top 5. That was the beginning of it. So we got some great stuff coming up. Number 4, absolutely fantastic movie. It is Kevin Costner in Dances with Wolves. So if you've watched all of these videos, this is from 1990 also, actually. Jacob's Ladder and Dances with Wolves, both in 1990. If you've watched all my videos, I mentioned The Last Samurai is very similar to another movie, and it is Dances with Wolves. Kevin Costner's character is in the military, and he's wanting to get away kind of from the system almost. He's trying to get away from society in a way. And in this movie, he connects with the Native Americans, whereas Tom Cruise's character is in a similar situation, but it's with the Japanese, the Japanese people, the samurais and all that sort of thing. So very similar along those lines, and very important movies, because it's like a lot about change and a lot about you could make a spiritual connection where we're kind of living a certain way in this system, kind of a material lifestyle, and the Native Americans or the samurai and The Last Samurai are living a very different way, maybe more connecting to the natural elements or spirituality, and a big change in these people's lives where they once were something, maybe they killed people, things like that, and now they're becoming something else. It is Dances with Wolves here on Blu-ray. Absolutely phenomenal movie. We have the, I don't know if this is like an extended edition. I don't think it's considered a director's cut. 234 minutes. This is long. But again, it doesn't really feel like that when you watch it. It's just, it's a movie that is extremely long, but it's a pretty easy watch. It's just so entertaining. And again, one that is extraordinarily rewatchable. Dances with Wolves, number 4. We got this nice fake leather slipcover. That is a nice slipcover. We are on to number 3, and we have, if you've watched PMAC movies for quite a while, you knew this was going to be in the top 10. This is my favorite sci-fi movie of all time. This is along the lines of The Matrix, but I actually prefer it to The Matrix. And it is Alex Proyas's Dark City from 1998. We just had so many great of these types of Gnostic sci-fi movies in the late 90s. And this is I can't really totally put my finger on what exactly it is. It's like the beginning of this movie, and the director's cut, I believe, is the one to watch. I thought Rufus Sewell was great in this. You also have Jennifer Connelly in this. You have William Hurt. And Kiefer Sutherland, I feel like, is just amazing in this movie. Some people might find his performance kind of goofy, but I think it really gives a particular feel to this movie. And again, I think aspects of this movie where you wonder, could this actually be kind of what's going on here? Again, it makes you question your reality and really think about things, and think about like the power that we have within us too. The main character in this movie doesn't realize how strong he is, how he brings forth this power from himself. Very much like Neo in The Matrix. But yeah, this is an absolutely fantastic movie, and highly recommend that. If you've never seen that, that's one to seek out. We are on to number 2. With number 2, we have Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring from this set. Yeah, I mean, probably everybody's seen the Lord of the Rings, the extended editions. I don't know if I probably have watched the theatrical, but the extended editions are the one to watch. And my preferred, similar to with Star Wars, I picked A New Hope. Fellowship of the Ring is my favorite out of them. With kind of the hobbits coming together on their journey, and introduction to Gandalf, and kind of just the kind of the beginning of the story, learning the background of the story and all those things was very interesting. So again, these are very, very long, but I've watched the Lord of the Rings movies several times. It's been a little bit since I've watched them. Maybe we're coming upon another rewatch here, because it has been a while since I've watched these. And Fellowship of the Ring's the one I'm pretty sure I've probably watched that more than any of them. So really, really great. And then number 1. Where is it in here, you may ask? So this is a movie that probably not many people would pick this as their number 1 movie. But there's some people talking outside. But this is a movie that I saw, I believe, in the theater with my family when I was younger. And I really liked it back then. And like any time it was on TV, I always remember I'd want to watch it. And I'd love it. Like any time I saw it on TV. And whenever somebody asks me my favorite movie, this is usually what I say. So I'm sticking to it. I think it's not like a real deep movie like a lot of these other top movies that I have. There's not a ton of like making you question your life type of depth. There is emotional aspects to it. But just a great action movie with a good storyline, with really good acting, and extremely rewatchable. It is 1993's The Fugitive, starring Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones. Harrison Ford is unbelievable in this. The emotional depth to his portrayal in this really makes it not just another action movie. It is there's dramatic components to it. And then Tommy Lee Jones is just great as the cop going after him, the U.S. Marshal, Sam Gerard, going after Dr. Richard Kimball, framed for his wife's death. Imagine that. Your wife is murdered, and the police they arrested him, and then he got it free. So they're after him. So he's having to deal with the cops being after him and facing a lifetime in prison, and he's having to deal with his wife being murdered. That's pretty heavy. But just a phenomenal movie, and it is my favorite movie of all time. Like I said, anytime this movie was on when I was younger, I'd get excited. I'd need to see The Fugitive. It's such a entertaining movie. And if you haven't seen this one, beer yourself and watch it. You won't be disappointed. So that is it. That is my top 10. Let me know your thoughts on my top 10. And this is the 5th video in my top 50 series. It is not the final video. I am going to be making the final video, video 6, and it is going to be focusing on honorable mentions, movies that just missed the top 50. There's a lot of, classic movies out there that people may say, wow, that didn't make it. Jaws, Jurassic Park, Forrest Gump. These movies, big time movies, and probably many more that I haven't thought of, they didn't make the PMAC top 10. Or the top 50. They didn't even make the top 50. And Jaws probably wouldn't. Jaws is a movie that probably wouldn't make the top 100, but the other ones would be. So we're going to take a look at a bunch of honorable mentions, other high recommendations and things like that. So I think that'll be a fun, interesting video. Maybe give you some, talk about some movies that you've already watched and are already aware of, but also give you some other movies that maybe you don't know as much. So that'll be a good one. But let me know your thoughts on my top 10, and we will see you next time.